За барих. Бако. Эсвэл гарцсан уу?
Тэгээд их хүндэт папа Монгол улсын хэлтгээрээс регулировж манай сайхан эртний төвхтэй их оронд манд төрийн ажил хийж байгаа бизнес төлөөлөл баяртай байна.
Sono molto lieto di accogliere in questo paese bellissimo e anche la ringrazio per aver accolto il mio invito di visitare Mongolia che ha ricca storia. Nei nostri due paesi celebriamo il 31esimo anniversario di stabilimento dei rapporti diplomatici. E se ne parliamo storia di relazione tra i nostri due paesi che risale fino a Pechorte a
Орны 4-р папад 1246 онд манай эзэн Чингис хааны одоо Гүйг хаанд захаа явуулж тэр захааг нь одоо Палана Карпини гэж одоо Сталин санаалтан одоо эзэн хаанд явуулж гэсэн тэр үеэс эхлээд одоо манай хоёр орны харилцаа хамтаа ажиллаж байдаг гэж бид үздэг юм аа.
L'inizio dei nostri due rapporti risale all'epoca di Impero Mongolo quando i sacerdoti giovani da Piano di Carpine si è recato in Mongolia per presentare le lettere del Papa Innocente IV a lui quanto un'ipotesi di
recuperating from jet lag. And now, the meeting with authorities, civil society, and the diplomatic corps. Pope Francis, ambassadors, and representatives of the diplomatic missions accredited to Mongolia, distinguished guests. So what we are seeing right now is the meeting of civil society, authorities, and diplomatic corps in Ulaanbaatar. Now, the President of Mongolia is speaking. I extend to all of you my heartfelt greetings on this historic day when Pope Francis is paying the first ever state visit to our beautiful country, land of eternal blue sky, the sacred heart of the Mongol Empire, the birthplace of Genghis Khan, man of the millennium. This state visit has a historical prominence in that it is being held on the occasion of the 860th anniversary of Genghis Khan and the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and the Holy See. The relations between Mongolia and the Holy See have a history originating from the era of Great Mongol Empire founded by Genghis Khan. 8 centuries ago, in 1246, Friar Plano Karpin, the envoy of Pope Innocent XIV, arrived in Karakum, the capital of the Great Mongol Empire, and presented the Pope's message to Guyu Khan, great son of Genghis Khan, that instituted the foundation of historical ties between our countries. It should be acknowledged that the Archbishop Plano Karpini was the first ever European envoy to enter the court of the Great Mongol Empire to establish official relations. At that time, Archbishop Plano Karpini had the great occasion to be invited to the coronation of Guyu Khan as the guest of honor. His narrative history of Mongolians based on memoirs of his journey bestowed to the world was the historical piece of the Mongolian history and culture, which introduced to the Western world and is still precious source in the historical study of Mongolia and Eurasia of the Middle Ages. It is indeed a chronologically fortunate occasion for Pope Francis of the Holy See to visit Mongolia, the sacred heart of the Mongol Empire. Precisely 777 years since Plano Karpini journeyed to Mongolia. Ties between the two countries had been further sustained with the exchange of envoys and letters of the second Mongol ruler Khan Abaga to Pope Gregorio X in 1274, also Pope Nicholas III to Kulibal Khan in 1278, Khan Argun to Pope Honorius IV in 1285, Pope Nicholas IV to Khan Argun in 1288-1289. Then again Khan Argun to Pope Nicholas IV in 1290, further still Khan Gazan to Pope Boniface the 7th in 1302. These communications remain historical heritage of our relations. Our two countries have been observing the 31st anniversary of diplomatic relations and continuous humanitarian collaboration in the areas of culture, education, and science. As our relations have flourished, I extend our paramount appreciation to Pope Francis for his first ever state visit to Mongolia. Esteemed guests, Genghis Khan and his successors, ancestors of the Mongolians, instituted the Great Mongol Empire. They established Pax Mongolica by unifying all the Mongol tribes, ending conflict that had lasted centuries, and were a prerequisite for peaceful coexistence and harmony among nations and people of Asia and Europe, developing science and education and fostering prosperity. World notorious scholars and international organizations recognize the significant contribution of Mongolia to world history and the invaluable heritage inherited from humanity that Pax Mongolica entailed many nations to respect and cherish their values and identities mutually. Peaceful coexistence of each civilization to flourish postal, transport, diplomatic relations, economic and trade, as well as science, culture, tolerance of religious freedoms, and seasoned principles of the rule of law. The state principles to respect statehood, prosper peace and harmony and unity inherited from Genghis Khan have been relayed through many centuries, and Mongolia stands for maintenance and strengthening of global and regional peace and security. It is pursuing a peace-loving, open, independent, and multiple-pillared foreign policy, with a view to peacefully contributing to the international community's effort in addressing regional and global security challenges. Mongolia has been offering its initiatives and actively engaging in our immediate and with other neighbors. Mongolia has contributed to noble endeavors in ensuring global peace and security and respectively fulfilling its commitments in the international community, with sending over 20,000 peacekeepers to 15 UN peacekeeping operations in some of the most precarious places in the world for the last 20 years. Mongolia have ancient traditions to respect spiritual freedoms and pluralism. Since the era of Genghis Khan and the Great Mongol Empire, once in the capital Karakum, Buddhists, Christians, and Islamic 12 holy places coexisted in harmony, and Mongol kings and statesmen had a deep respect for each religion, and every church and temple had the privilege to be exempted from state taxes. Principles to respect spiritual freedom and belief have been bequeathed to us and preserved in the Constitution of Mongolia. Since ancient times, we Mongolians with nomadic heritage have been preserving and treasuring Mother Earth and nature to extend it for future generations. Climate change, famine, food security and supply, which Pope Francis is concerned about, are entirely consistent with our national movements of a billion trees, food revolution, and health Mongolia. Thus, Mongolia will stand with the Holy See to protect the environment, food security, underpinning humanity and sustainable development. Pope Francis, your state visit to Mongolia will inaugurate a new page in the history of our countries and make a historic contribution to further strengthen our relations and cooperation, which will be engraved in golden letters. On behalf of the people of Mongolia, I extend Pope Francis and all the people of the world my best wishes for good health, happiness, and well-being. Under the auspice of the eternal blue sky, may humanity be in lasting harmony. So, Pope Francis, on a visit to Mongolia, and now the President concluding his statement, his speech to Pope Francis. Those of you who are just joining us for this broadcast of Pope Francis in Mongolia, most welcome to you all. Earlier on, Pope Francis visited with the President in a courtesy call And now Pope Francis will also address the gathering of authorities, civil society, and diplomatic corps here in Ulaanbaatar. Mr. President of the Republic, Mr. President of the State, Great Ural, Mr. Prime Minister, members of government and diplomatic corps, distinguished civil and religious authorities, illustrious representatives of the world of culture, ladies and gentlemen. I thank His Excellency, the President, for his warm welcome and his kind words, and I greet all of you most cordially. I greet you. I'm honored to be here, happy to have journeyed to this remarkable and vast land, and to a people fully conscious of the meaning and importance of what it is to journey. We see this in your traditional dwelling, the Ger, fine traveling homes. I would like to imagine myself entering for the first time, with great respect and anticipation, one of these secular tents that dot the majestic Mongolian lands in order to meet you and become better acquainted with you. So here I am standing at the door, a pilgrim of friendship who comes to you quietly with joyful heart and a desire to find myself humanly enriched in your presence. When we enter the home of friends, it is good custom to exchange gifts and to think back on our earlier meetings. Modern diplomatic relations between Mongolia and the Holy See are recent. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the signature of a letter consolidating bilateral relations. Yet much earlier in time, exactly 777 years ago, and specifically between the end of August and the beginning of September in the year 1246, Friar John of Plana de Carpine, an envoy of the Pope, visited Guyuk, the third Mongol emperor, and presented to the Grand Khan an official missive from Pope Innocent IV. Shortly thereafter, a letter of response bearing the seal of the Grand Khan in traditional Mongol letters was written and translated in various languages. That letter is preserved in the Vatican Library, and today I am honored to present you with an authenticated copy executed with the most advanced techniques in order to ensure the highest quality possible. May it be the sign of an ancient friendship that is growing and being renewed. I have been told that at daybreak, the children in your countrysides stand at the door of the gate and look into the distance to count the heads of cattle, and then report the number to the parents. We too benefit from gazing towards the vast horizons everywhere around us, abandoning short-sighted perspectives for a broader global vision. That is the lesson of the Ger, born of the nomadic life in the steppes. They spread over a vast territory and become a distinctive feature of various neighborhood cultures. Mongolia's immense territory stretches from the global desert to the steppe, from the Great Plains to the pine forest and the mountain chains of the Altai and the Khangai, intersected by winding rivers that, viewed from on high, resemble the intricate decoration on precious ancient textiles. Your lands mirror the grandeur and the beauty of the entire earth, which is meant to be an attractive and inviting garden. Your native wisdom, which has matured over generations of ranchers and planters, respectful of the delicate balance of the ecosystem, speaks eloquently of those who, in our own day, reject the pursuit of myopic particular interests and wish instead to pass on to the future generations lands that remain welcoming and fruitful. You help us to appreciate and carefully cultivate what we Christians consider to be God's creation, the fruit of His benevolent design, and to combat the effects of human devastation by a culture of care and foresight reflected in responsible ecological policies. Gers are dwelling places that nowadays could be considered efficient and ecologically sound inasmuch as they are versatile and multifunctional with zero impact on the environment. Further, the holistic vision of the Mongolian shamanic tradition, combined with the respect of all the living beings inherited from Buddhist philosophy, can contribute significantly to the urgent and no longer deferrable efforts to protect and preserve planet Earth. Girls present in both rural and urbanized areas, likewise testifying to the precious marriage of tradition and modernity. For the joint lives of old and young, and thus witness to the continuity of the Mongolian people. From ancient times to the present, this people has preserved its roots while opening, especially in recent decades, to the great global challenges of development and democracy. Mongolia today, with its broad network of diplomatic relations, its active membership in the United Nations, its effort to promote human rights and peace, plays a significant role in the heart of the great Asian continent and on the international scene. I'd also like to mention your determination to halt nuclear proliferation and to present yourselves before the world as a country free of nuclear weapons. Mongolia is a democratic nation that pursues a peaceful foreign policy, but also proposes to play an important role on behalf of world peace. It is significant too that correctly, capital punishment no longer appears in your judicial system. Thanks to their adaptability to climate extremes, girls make it possible to live in various diverse settings. This was the case during the epic times of the Mongolian Empire. With its vast territorial expansion, moreover, I have come to Mongolia as you are making an anniversary that is important for you. 860 years since the birth of Genghis Khan. The fact that the empire could embrace such distant and varied lands over the centuries bears witness to the remarkable ability of your ancestors to acknowledge the outstanding qualities of peoples present in its immense territory and to put those qualities at the service of common development. This model should be valued and reproposed in our modern day. May heaven grant that today on this earth, devastated by countless conflicts, there be a renewed respect for international law of the conditions that were once Pax Mongolica, that is, the absence of conflict. In the words of your proverbs, the clouds pass away, but the sky remains. May the dark clouds of war be dispelled, swept away by the firm desire of the universal fraternity wherein tensions are resolved through encounter and dialogue, and the fundamental rights of all people are guaranteed. Here in this country, so rich in history and open to the sky, let us implore this gift from on high, and together let us strive to build a future of peace. Upon entering a traditional gear, our gaze is directed upwards to the highest central point, where there is a round window, a window that allows light to enter and the sky to be admired. I would like to emphasize the importance of this fundamental attitude that your tradition helps us to appreciate, the ability to keep our eyes fixed on high, raising our eyes to heaven. The eternal blue sky that you have always venerated means persevering in an attitude of docile openness to religious teachings. A profound spiritual sensitivity belongs to the very fiber of your cultural identity, and it is proper that Mongolia should be a symbol of religious freedom. In the contemplation of boundless and sparsely settled horizon, your people have developed a refined spiritual sense, born of nurturing silence and interiority. The solemn grandeur of the countless natural phenomena that surrounds you has given rise to a sense of wonder, which instills simplicity and frugality or preference for the essential, which instills simplicity and frugality, preference for the essential, and the capacity to detach from what is not. Here I think of the threat representing the consumeristic spirit that nowadays is addition to creating great injustices, leads to individualistic mindset that cares little for others and for social established traditions. When religions remain grounded in their original spiritual patrimony and are not corrupted by sectarian deviations, they prove to be trustworthy supports in the construction of healthy and prosperous societies in which believers work to ensure that peaceful coexistence and political foresight are placed increasingly at the service of the common good. At the same time, they also represent a safeguard against insidious threats of corruption, which effectively represent a serious menace to the development of any human community. Corruption is the fruit of the utilitarian and unscrupulous mentality that has impoverished whole countries. It is a sign of vision that fails. It is a sign of the vision that fails to look up to the sky and flees the vast horizon of fraternity, becoming instead self-enclosed and concerned with its own interest alone. In contrast, many of your ancient leaders taught you to keep your gaze fixed on high and on vastness of the landscape. They demonstrated an uncommon ability to integrate different voices, experiences, also from the religious point of view. A respectful and conciliatory attitude was shown with regard to the various sacred traditions as it witnessed by the different places of worship, one Christian site preserved by the ancient capital in Karakum. As a result, it was almost natural that you arrived at the freedom of thought and of religion now enshrined in your constitution, having left behind without bloodshed the atheist ideology that thought it could eliminate religion decline, deeming it a hindrance to development. You have come to acknowledge and respect the fundamental importance of harmonious cooperation between believers of different faiths, each of whom, from his own or her own particular point of view, contributes to the moral and spiritual advancements of people. In this regard, the Mongolian Catholic community is happy to continue making its proper contribution. It was, in fact, a year that a little more than 30 years ago, the Catholic community began to celebrate its faith, and the present cathedral located in this great city is reminiscent of the shape of a gear. These are the signs of the Catholic community's desire to share its life and work in a spirit of responsible and fraternal service with the Mongolian people, which is also its own people. For this reason, I'm pleased that this community, however small and discreet, shares with enthusiasm and commitment the country's process of growth by spreading the culture of solidarity, universal respect, and interreligious dialogue, and by working for justice and peace and social harmony. It is my hope that thanks to the legislation that is far-sighted and attentive to concrete needs, local Catholics, assisted by consecrated men and women, who for the most part necessarily come from other countries, will be able always and without difficulty to make their own human and spiritual contribution to Mongolia for the benefit of the people. The negotiations presently taking place for the stipulation of the bilateral agreement between Mongolia and the Holy See represent an important means for the attainment of those conditions essential for the pursuit of the ordinary activities in which the Catholic Church is engaged. In addition to the specific religious aspects of worship, these include the numerous initiatives of the service of integral human development carried out not least in the areas of education, healthcare, social assistance, research, and cultural advancement. These initiatives bear witness to the humble, fraternal, and solidarity spirit of the gospel of Jesus, the one path that Catholics are called to follow in the journey that they share with all the people of the earth. The motto chosen for this journey, Hoping Together, expresses well the innate potential for the journey we are making together in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation in pursuit of the common good. The Catholic Church is an ancient institution present in almost every country of the world, embodies a noble and fruitful spiritual tradition that has contributed to the development of entire nations in the numerous fields of human activity, from the sciences to literature, from the arts of political and social life. I am certain that Mongolian Catholics will continue to offer readily their proper contribution to building a prosperous and secure society in dialogue and cooperation with all others who dwell in this great land kissed by the sky. Be like the sky. In these words, a famous poet encouraged us to raise above the transience of the earth's events, to imitate the breath of the Spirit, symbolized by the immense clear blue sky that we contemplate in Mongolia. Today, as pilgrims and guests in this country that has so much to offer to the world, we too want to accept that invitation and translate it into concrete signs of compassion, dialogue, and shared vision for the future. May the various components of Mongolian society, so well represented here, continue to offer to the world the beauty and the nobility of these unique people. In this way, like your traditional vertical script, May you remain ever upright in your efforts to relieve the great human suffering all around you, reminding everyone of the dignity of each human being called to dwell in the earthly home by embracing the sky. Bella. Thank you. So there we are, Pope Francis. Very heartwarming, really taking into consideration the life of the people in Mongolia and making many references to history. So Pope Francis also speaking about Mongolia and its role in society, religious freedom, as well as tolerance. Speaking also about the Pax Mongolica, the absence of conflict, which has characterized this country over history. Pope Francis also said that Mongolia is a country that has made sure that it doesn't have any nuclear arms in its place. So Pope Francis has started his public engagements. As we said at the beginning, that the Holy Father arrived in Mongolia on Friday, and he rested most of Friday, and today he has begun his public engagements. This brings us to the end of Pope Francis's meeting with authorities, civil societies, and members of the diplomatic corps in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. I'm Father Paul Samasumo, and we leave you with these pictures as Pope Francis is leaving the stage in Ikemogu room within the Presidential State House. Remember to join us today at 16 hours local Mongolia time, which will be 10 hours this morning in Rome. Pope Francis will be meeting bishops, priests, and missionaries, and some lay leaders. We were reminded by Pope Francis that his main goal is to encourage this tiny Mongolian Catholic community, but also to make sure that Catholics feel connected to the Universal Church during this visit. On behalf of Vatican Media, thank you to all who have made this transmission possible. You can look up our website. And also, let me just give a special thanks to our partner stations of Catholic TV, Luminous Radio, India, Atmadashan TV, India, Catholic Faith Network, Shalom World Television Network, USA, Shalom TV, India, Sunday TV, Sunday Shalom, Uganda Catholic Televisions, and UWTN Television, Salt and Light TV. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Praise be Jesus. Laudetur Jesus Christus.
We thank you for coming today. We would like to kindly remind you to leave your translation devices. We would like to ask you to make sure to take your belongings with you. Thank you very much.